Okay, we're live, and I'm going to get that theme music started. Let's see. Just a moment. Hello, welcome to another edition of the Willy Bragg Show. This is the what we call Sunday Night Politics, where Jimi Sunderland and myself co-host, and we discuss relevant political issues of the day. So, Jimmy, how are you tonight?
Oh, I am doing A-okay. I am awesome. How are you?
I had a nice little nap. I'm not doing too shabby myself. I'm going to work as soon as I'm done tonight over here. Everything's going nuts at work, but hopefully that's going to be resolved fairly soon. But
Right.
I'm going to go to work a little late. They're just going to have to. They're just going to have to tough it out a little bit. So the show must go on, as they
That's
say.
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, I guess there's. Well, let me just tell everybody to hit that like button. Hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all that stuff, all that jazz, and all will be well. And I will also leave the links for Jimi Sunderland to follow her on all her platforms too. And so I guess we'll get started with what's going on right now in our world, and I guess we'll start with Lindsey Graham from neighboring South Carolina. For me, I feel sorry for the people of South Carolina having to put up with that guy. So, okay, let me go ahead and we'll get started with old Lindsey Graham here.
Okay.
All right, let's see. All right. Okay, and let's see where are we? Area. Okay, all right.
Lindsey Graham is officially ready to start World War III, and by God, he doesn't care how many people it takes to do it. Graham recently went on a trip to Ukraine along with two Democratic senators, Richard Blumenthal and Sheldon Whitehouse. And after they did a brief little tour of Ukraine, Graham came out and made this grand statement. All three of us, one Republican and two Democrats, share the same goal: for Ukraine to drive Russians out of Ukraine. To achieve that goal, the Ukrainian military needs tanks. I am tired of the shit show surrounding who is going to send tanks and when are they going to send them. Putin is trying to rewrite the map of Europe by force of arms. World order is at stake. Now, this statement and what he said after that, and I get to that in a moment, freaked out pretty much everybody around him. The other world leaders, because they saw this, they heard it, and they're like, oh my God, this idiot's trying to start World War III. He wants us to get involved in a ground war in Ukraine. Most notably was the country of Germany, who basically was like, dude, keep our name out your mouth. Because Lindsey Graham did go on to say this. To the Germans, send tanks to Ukraine because they need them. It is in your own national interest that Putin loses in Ukraine. To the Biden administration, send American tanks so that others will follow our lead. And again, the Germans were like, whoa, please, could we not bring us into this right now? And sure, the United States, Germany, other countries have talked about, like, should we send tanks? Should we not send tanks? What is that going to do? Well, I'll tell you what it's going to do. If we send tanks, if any country sends tanks over there, it is effectively a declaration of war, a war against Russia. Now, Ukraine, of course, was attacked. They were invaded. Okay, they are not the villains here. Russia is. But at some point, we have to understand that we as a country, our allies as countries, cannot get involved in a ground war because it will very quickly escalate into World War III. Putin has made that much crystal clear. This is the guy who continues to toy around with, well, maybe we ought to use nuclear weapons. Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. We don't know his thinking any day of the week because he's a madman. And you don't handle a madman by getting, a bunch of countries together and firing missiles at him. That's not going to end well for anyone. A ground war in Ukraine is going to cause even more casualties than they're already suffering. It's going to cause more casualties on the Russian side, people who didn't sign up for this crap. If we're going to end this, the only possible way to do it is through diplomacy. We have to work on that a little bit harder because we're doing a pretty crappy job of it right now. But letting Lindsey Graham go over there and basically call for World War III, that is a threat to our national security. It's a threat to Germany's national security. But there he is, the blowhard who never met a war he didn't like. And it's most likely because he's not the one that's going to have to go and fight it now, is he? This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have...
Yeah. Any words about that in your any take over this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. For that side of thinking, for the people who think that, Putin invaded Ukraine and, Putin's the bad guy, this, at least I agree, at least it's a good talking point to get people to see, like, this is not a fight that we want to get ourselves in, and we need to stop this now before it gets any more. So I at least agree with them on that point, and good for him for coming up with a good talking point for that side, because it's very, very hard to have a good talking point being anti-war with Democrats recently, which has been ridiculous. So good for him.
Yeah, he acknowledged that it's insanity to go and start a war. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shitlibs that are almost welcoming some kind of an escalation. As you heard me complaining about Vosh earlier this afternoon. That's one guy who's calling for war. No way around it. And he's going to go around criticize Jeremy Corbyn and calls himself a badass socialist. He almost sounded like John Bolton referring to Vosh. But no, Farron Cousins is correct. This is insanity. Lindsey Graham, calling, basically jeopardizing the planet with his casual talk like this. And they're listening. The people in Russia, the higher ups in the government, in Putin's inner circle, they're hearing this, and it's not going to make them come to reason. It's going to make them more hardline in my view.
Right, I agree.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is.
And you have people out there trying to demonize this march next week in DC. Have you been seeing it on Twitter? How they've been trying to demonize the march in DC?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit here and there. I'm not paying too much attention to all of it. As long as something happens, I actually been hearing more that there's a couple of good ones here in California that's going to happen. So I'm more paying attention to those.
Oh, I understand that. Over there on the West Coast. Yeah. So anyway, I guess we'll go with the next story, and That'll be. I think you and I saw a Xander Hall video a while back. I'm not really a big fan of Xander Hall. Speaking of Vosh, and he decided to watch the debate between Vosh and Brianna Joy Gray, and I'm going to play. I'm not going to play the whole entire video, but I'm going to play just enough of it, just to get, I guess you could say, the meat and potatoes of his take on their debate, and I guess what's wrong or what's right, depending on the perspective of this guy here. So let's see. Let me go ahead and get everything set up, and. All right, then I guess we'll get started. Let me see. Let me get the screen set up over here. All right. Here we go.
Okay, everybody. I have managed to keep myself completely blind on the most recent Vosh debate that's happened, that people have been talking about. It went up just a little bit ago. Okay, it must be on the Bad Faith podcast channel. It's not on Bosch's channel.
Force the vote, fans, and Brianna.
Ooh, there we go. All right. Yep, we're watching it. I have stayed completely blind on this debate between Vosh and Brianna Joy Gray, okay? For those of you guys that don't know, Vosh is a good fan. Yeah, Vosh is a fan of the stream, for those of you guys that don't know. Vosh, huge Xander Hall fan. He donates at least $100 a week to my stream. He's constantly in chat. If you guys don't know, we're just constantly playing VR chat together and Escape from Tarkov together. We're tight, you know. No, I'm just kidding. Me and Vosh are friends. We're not that tight. But Brianna Joy Gray, I do not like. I do not like Brianna Joy Gray. She got into my sort of field of view initially when she started pushing the Bernie or bust shit back in 2019 and 2020. She started arguing that because Bernie lost the primary, that, you know, if you supported Bernie and you were a real leftist, then either voting third party or not voting at all, but certainly not voting for Biden against Trump, was the most ethically leftist thing to do, which is really stupid for reasons that I feel like at this point are beyond obvious, just beyond obvious. Anyway, she's gone on a lot of different, like, dramas where she's just been objectively wrong. She pushed, like, the really stupid force the vote shit that I hate. What else? She pushes for policies that are not as popular as she thinks they are. She's part of the Nosble Vortex thing. I think her co-host was, like, a literal Nazi. She just really overall kind of sucks, but who knows? Maybe this conversation is going to completely change my mind on her, but probably not. Probably not. Anyway, I've been putting this off for a while. I'm going to put this on like 1.25 speed, and we're going to enjoy. And I'm going to eat an Oreo.
Fans and Brianna Joy Gray fans are fucking subhuman pieces of shit, or despicable people who are only in it for these things. Dipshit retards like Brianna here. There are very few people on the quote left who I have less respect for than Brianna Joy Gray. What a piece of shit. I do hate her. We're never going to have her on the show. Brianna Joy Gray is a truly reprehensible person. They are spineless, grifting, weaselly, worthless little pieces. An idiot. I have no respect for Brianna Joy Gray. This is what we call the Joy Gray moment right here.
God damn. Someone needs to clip this shit and upload it on Vosh's channel as, like, 60 seconds of Vosh spitting facts.
No matter what she personally believes, she covers for fascists. She's representative of the rot in the online left, unworthy of the platforms that they stumbled into through the charity of people smarter than them. They're genuine.
I'm just gonna let you all know, Vosh is based and correct on most issues, I find. So, like, Brianna Joy Gray loading this, like, front-loading this discussion or this debate with these clips literally only reinforces, like, how sure I am that Brianna Joy Gray is a dishonest piece of shit. Because for there to have been this many instances of Vosh insulting her like this, even if we don't remember all of the different instances, it reminds us, man, she must really suck.
genuinely unhinged person. She'll never have me on. You'll never have me on, will you, Brianna? You know that wouldn't go well for you.
Oh. I'm excited to be joined today on Bad Faith Podcast for the first time by prolific Twitch streamer turned YouTube streamer. Bosch, welcome to the program.
Hello, what a pleasure to be here.
That was a dig! That was a dig! Did you guys catch that? Did you guys catch that dig? Who caught that dig she just did? Never forget.
I am doing well. Look, so the reason I wanted to talk to you today is because I had the pleasure of meeting you for the first time.
She said Twitch streamer turned YouTube streamer. He became a YouTube streamer because of the event.
On
I'll play a little more of this. So, what's your take so far on this, Jimmy?
I'm intrigued. It just seems like a douchebag who likes a douchebag who wants to pick on a woman who thinks differently than them. So I'm kind of interested to see what, even though I don't care about his opinion, because I don't even know who this guy is and I already don't like him. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really watch a lot of what little bit of Xander Hall I've seen. I've not been very impressed with. I had just not been very impressed with, and he's certainly a simp for Bosch. Obviously, I mean he's just a yes man for Bosch, and the thing about it is that Brianna Joy Gray. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in this online left ecosystem. Some of the gatekeepers. They're so unhinged with their hatred against this woman. It's just like. I mean, it's like, why on God's green earth would they do this to this woman? What has she done other than have some opinions, that they attack her the way that they attack her?
Well, that's the problem with most of the guys like this. These are like, young dudes who think they're super intelligent, so they think they know everything. It's like you don't know what you don't know. Like with the whole, what was it, Bernie or Bus movement that he was saying how he was saying that she was wrong for saying that it was ethical to either not vote or vote for a third party, like that we should have voted for Hillary Clinton, like, and that it's obvious how much better it would have been. I don't give a fuck. Like those are her and Trump were the worst of the two. I wouldn't even have cared which one, because both of them we would have been in a shitstorm anyway. So it doesn't even really matter. But then, like, I don't, just the way that he was putting it, like, we were the wrong ones to vote third party. Like, how is a third party ever going to be able to be viable in this corrupted duopoly that's always now officially going to be every single year corrupted by the Russians, apparently, and having their elections rigged by the Russians? So, it's going to be this ever going back and forth between the red and the blue, and we're never going to have a viable third party until we get enough people to vote for third party. That's the fucking point.
Exactly. And thing about it is that to pick on Brianna Joy Gray, and I've been listening to her. First found out about her during the Bernie Sanders campaign, and I found out she was like one of the best people in the Bernie Sanders campaign. She was the one urging Bernie Sanders to fight to the very bitter end. And whereas a lot of people who were around Bernie in 2020 were like real bad advisors trying to make Bernie Sanders to be just a slightly edgier Democrat. And I think that's done some, not total harm, because I do have my take or my suspicions about the primaries, which will go into conspiracy theories, and I don't want to get my channel suspended, so I'll keep my opinions to myself. But suffice to say, when I found out what she was all about and everything, I've been very impressed, and the fact that they make fun of her or criticize her heavily for forced to vote, I'm like, no. She's proven the forced vote was the way to go, because we're nowhere close to having Medicare for all. We're nowhere close to a public option or even any meaningful prescription drug reform or anything of that nature. So,
but then you've got these people that are like the anti-force the vote, the people that are like, the anti-force the vote people, and they're like complaining that what we're doing here with force the vote is incrementalism, like what they're doing isn't incrementalism. It's all the same. It was kind of like with the red berets versus the people that weren't the red berets. Like, you know, you're going to sit there and say that no state can do it state by state until everyone gets it, but you're saying that the state by state people are incrementalists. Like, how is your Medicare for all, it's like everybody gets it or nobody gets it? How is that not incrementalism as well? They're all doing it, everybody's doing it the wrong goddamn way, and they all fight with each other about it. It's so annoying.
Oh yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play just a little bit more of this video with Bosch and Brianna Joy Gray going back and forth, and then we'll talk a little more about this, and then I guess we'll go to the very next video. So let's go. Let it continue.
Rising last week. You know, we were brought on, the producers reached out to you to come and talk about some of the discourse that's been going around about Andrew Tate and this crisis of masculinity that seems to have been an ongoing problem and trend for some years now. The rise of popular internet figures like Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate as reflective of some deficit in society more broadly that is leading to both these YouTube figures and also a lot of kind of dangerous...
I love when people who literally Andrew Tate and everyone who dick rides Andrew Tate use the popularity of Andrew Tate as justification for the popularity of Andrew Tate. It's like, oh, well, Andrew Tate wouldn't be so popular if he weren't right about the state of conditions people are living in. He wouldn't be so popular if he didn't have a point. It's literally the Sneeko argument.
Socially maladaptive behavior offline. I would
What?
say. Not
Andrew Tate's point is with incels. It's stupid.
Yeah, I really don't even think about Andrew Tate unless somebody brings up the name Andrew Tate, to tell you the truth.
Right.
He has so very little relevance in my life. I mean,
See, I'm a female, so I'm completely opposite. Like every male that I meet, I'm like, oh man, you definitely watch Andrew Tate. This sucks. Like, yeah, and a lot of people don't even realize it. You know, they don't even realize this. You know, what they have, the word is, I guess, toxic masculinity now. Most men don't even realize that they have it. So yeah, no, he's so wrong. I see it all. Yeah, I see it all the time. He's tripping, but it's all for incels and, like, you know, the guys, like the man hating or the women hating dudes. Like it's those type of guys that are, you know, familiarizing themselves and really starting to fan, or we're starting to fan over Andrew Tate. So meh.
yeah, and I've seen mainstream, I've seen ordinary people, non-famous people have this sort of attitude. So the effects of him doing this is kind of like, okay, you know, it's like you hear it all the time from people around you, you know, you're just kind of like, so it's sort of like, even though I don't think he's to the level of someone like Andrew Tate, someone like Jordan Peterson, I usually fall asleep when I hear him open his mouth. I mean, he doesn't have any effect on my life, and some people get like worked up over him. But I understand what you're saying about you know, about Andrew Tate too. In that regard, but as far as Andrew Tate, you know, all these guys idolizing him, I'm like, why? You know?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's what he's trying to make a point, is like, you know, that's why Andrew Tate is popular, is because, you know, people agree with what he's having to say, which means that there's just, you know, a lot of, you know, young white kids or young white dudes that are, you know, not getting the girls that they want. So they're saying, oh yeah, Andrew Tate's right, all at the same time that, you know, women are starting to empower themselves and starting to not just settle for, you know, whatever is there, or, you know, we've got, you know, the power of divorce now and stuff. Like, women are empowered nowadays, so we're not going to settle with whatever's just handed in front of us. You know, we're going to go out and keep looking, and so these men start complaining and they start saying Andrew Tate is right, and, you know, boo-hoo. Like, the plight of young white men hasn't been the you know, biggest thing that the government in America has tried to, you know, coddle through the times over the last 150 years anyway. So just like white woman tears, I know I'm a white woman, I'm the same way. Like, don't let me hear that shit. No, young white dudes are complaining. Go get a therapist. It's normal nowadays. White woman tears. Don't believe all the every tear that you hear, because sometimes it's phony tears. So
Yeah. So okay, we'll continue. Let me go ahead and do this, and there we go.
Right has in terms of offering an off ramp to people who feel perhaps isolated, disillusioned by society, etc. And what people noted after our interview was that there had been this history of you having had some substantive criticisms of me online, and it felt odd to folks that we had never actually talked about it before we were kind of in this public setting, talking very cordially. Joining us now to discuss is YouTuber Vouch. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here. How y'all doing?
We're doing all right, and I was impressed by your professionalism and decorum in that context, and I thought that you might be a good person.
She really talks for a long time, doesn't she? I'm going to go ahead and turn it up to 1.5 speed. Hopefully you guys can handle it.
such a misogynistic thing to do.
Cane or meth, it'll help you keep up.
Well, he's envious because I mean, she's Harvard educated, and she's obviously one of the brightest minds in the political sphere right now. Yeah, it is kind of a condescending remark he made. He wish he could have half the brains that she's got.
I'm here for the pettiness. Absolutely, yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Actually, to have it out with, discuss some of our sensitive disagreements.
Adderall
Also,
may work
anything
too.
else you want to talk about today? How does that sound?
Oh, sure. Look, I love arguing with folks, but the masculinity and
I'm going to have to use some weed because my brain works so fast I have to slow it down for me to understand a video going so slow as like 1.5x speed.
it's pretty serious. I think it's important to take the opportunity and talk about it. Plus, there's no fun in getting off in the head every time you're saying super calls or something 60 folks online. If folks did that, there'd be no way for anyone to do any kind of collaboration the way things are these days.
I will say, it is, Brianna Joy Gray is very fake. It is always very tough to balance when you deal with someone as dishonest and as massive of a piece of shit as Brianna Joy Gray online, and you're like dealing with her, talking to her, responding to her, whatever it may be, right? You're obviously going to get very angry, and you're going to throw insults because Brianna Joy Gray is a dishonest figure as far as I'm concerned. And that's frustrating. Nothing is more frustrating than me, or to me, than someone who is just being dishonest and people are falling for it. It's really frustrating to me. It grinds my gears. So Brianna Joy Gray, in this case, Vosh has shit talked her very vitriolically, with insults and whatnot on his show. But you have to balance the level of adult professionalism and decorum you have to maintain in a one-on-one, face-to-face video call conversation, while also maintaining that you still feel this way. This was not just you expressing takes that you're too afraid to say when the person's actually in the room. You're just being polite right now, but if things get to that point, you're willing to behave the same way as you did when they weren't there as when they are there, which makes you look consistent, not snaky or whatever. I don't think Bosch is snaky, but I think the point of the well poisoning that Brianna did at the beginning of this was to try to make it look that way.
I agree. And Bosch,
I think that's his way of saying that she was trying to kill him with kindness.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what? Her approach compared to Vosh's, calling her, subhuman piece of shit and everything like that. I mean, it tells me, it speaks volumes on what kind of a person he is and what kind of a person that she is. I mean, if I get mad at somebody, I would go and call somebody a subhuman piece of shit or what have you, But as I said, I mean, Bosch is obviously intelligent. I can't take that away from him. But if he could have, if he had a legitimate disagreement over force of vote, I mean, he could have handled it better than the way that he handled it. And it sounds like Xander Hall has. I'm not judging Xander Hall. But sounds like he's got a little bit of a man crush on Bosch.
Oh yeah, no, I'm judging Xander Hall, and he's a male chauvinist asshole. So.
Well, he's that, but I mean, I'm not judging him because he has a man crush on Bosch. But in all other respects, he is an asshole.
Yes, absolutely. He's
Yeah.
misogynistic. He's an asshole. Yeah.
All right. I'll play a few more minutes of this, and then we'll discuss this and go on to the next subject.
You got it.
I gotta say, I don't see us as having really argued.
Like, what? Why would Vosh be so, polite and well-mannered in this conversation when he was so mean on his show? How
He's
dishonest.
two-faced.
What a snake.
The line. I have become aware over the years of a number of critical videos you've done about me. I believe, took offense to a radar that I did about defunding the FBI.
No matter what she personally believes, she covers for fascism.
We were on opposite sides of the forced bill conversation.
The specific fascist vote movement was one of the most blatant grifts that got past as left-leaning activism in the past several years.
I'm sure there's been some other things over the years, but
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. What would you describe
That's
as
true.
your kind of substantive disagreement with me, my political approach?
Look, the gist of it is this, and we're all, not everyone's going to agree on every part of this. Some disagree is natural, but I've noticed a trend across the web, where as a reaction to the idea that
I am having a hard time hearing Bosch.
So it tends to, come out.
Oh, what is that now?
I am having a hard time hearing Bosch. It
Yeah,
sounds like he's in a bathtub underwater or something.
Yeah, I think he's got it on he himself got it on high speed with Bosch and everything. Basically, what Bosch was saying that he doesn't have a problem in principle with the left coming up with a left-leaning message, reaching out to maybe the populist right to maybe convince them to come on over to the left, and he's been noted to reach out to people who were down the alt-right pipeline and has rescued them from taking that path. And I'm going to commend him for that. But as I said, for him to go after people who are on the left, the way he's gone after them is what he's doing sometimes is counterproductive.
Right.
So, yeah.
I agree.
Out as Nas bullshit. Utilizing both the plight and the things that both the right and the left care about, except for the few select issues the right claims to care about that are real issues, you're just going to end up having Nas bullshit. And Nas bullshit is just like, oh, you have some good points about economics. Oh, only for white people, I guess. Okay. Ooh. And it's weird because I don't think that's really where Brianna Joy Gray argues from. I mean, she is like Nazgul adjacent, but she is, I would argue, overall a class reductionist. Like, that is what she is. Above all, she believes that the working class, period, is the most oppressed demographic in society and the one that needs to be fought for and advocated for the most. Any other subcategory of the working class isn't worth focusing on. Now, here's the real issue, is that these same figures will basically use this logic to also extend to these, minority groups, right? They see focusing on LGBTQ rights as a waste of time, because guess who else is also LGBT? Gay people. Or, not gay people. Gay people are LGBT. Rich people. There are rich LGBT people. There are rich black people. There are rich people of all sorts of minority groups the left advocates for in a more social, civil rights level, right? And so a lot of these discussions they see as a distraction from the real discussion of the fact that they think that all we need to be talking about is how the ruling class is fucking over the working class. And if we focus the conversation on civil rights stuff about the rights of black people and gay people, etc., then that is also advocating for some wealthy capitalists as well and what they believe in. And so,
what's your take on that?
I think he's absolutely wrong. I mean, I don't watch Brianna Joy Gray on a norm, so I don't know her all that well, but I know that she thinks similar to how I think. And last time I checked, we were humans and we know how to, walk and chew gum at the same time. So if, we were wanting to, do everything he says and then or do the, what was the main thing he was saying that we should be fighting for? Oh, for white people or something like that. But we could also do like, wanting things for we can fight for all people no matter what. And we know that minorities, even if they're rich, they're still lower class minorities as well. I mean, he didn't add in there homeless at all whatsoever, and we're fighting for the homeless as well, and that's a lower class than the working class. So, and if anything, she's right too, because the working class is the labor in this country, and without labor in this country, where else are you going to have a working economy other than an economy that's just buying things all the time? And look at where that's a consumption economy, and we're kind of almost there now, and look at where it's gotten us. So she's right about the working class, but we're also humans and can work and walk and chew gum at the same time and think about all the rest of the other ones.
Well, I have been accused of being a class reductionist by a lot of folks.
What is a class reductionist? I've never even heard of that.
A class reductionist is a leftist that is focused strictly on class struggle, and they is skewed away from social issues and identity politics. And it's not really even true, but that's what they're accused of. Maybe some class reductionists would do that, but most people who are accused of class reductionism, it's just a slur against them. And some of the people that qualifies as a class reductionist and bred to, for example, is thrown at people like, for example, in 2016, Bernie Sanders was accused by Hillary Clinton people of being a class reductionist. And then within the bred tube space, someone like Kyle Kalinske, or someone like I know they're not particularly chummy these days, Jimmy Dore, they're accused of being a class reductionist. Shoehead, Brianna Joy Gray, Glenn Greenwald, because they don't focus all the time on identity politics, but they care about what is concerned about on the identity issues. They do care about these things. They do. I mean, if you're opposed to capital punishment, most people on the left who oppose capital punishment oppose it because it is, they see it as racially discriminatory, and that's why I oppose it. That's one of the biggest reasons I oppose capital punishment. But even if it was racially neutral, I would still oppose capital punishment because I just don't like the idea of having a death penalty. Right. And yeah, I mean, fighting for the rights of African Americans to be equal, or immigrants to be equal, or what have you. And we're talking about some groups that are financially well off. I mean, like LGBTQ. A lot of people within the LGBTQ community are kind of somewhat well off, well educated, kind of upper middle class. In my experience, most of them are. Same thing with the Jewish community; they are too, but they've been deeply discriminated against, and and if there's any discrimination going on against them, it's just as wrong as discrimination against, let's say, low-income African Americans or low-income Hispanics, for example, and and whether you're a low-income person in any group, whether you're African American or white or whatever, class reductionists are accused of class reductionists. That says that the class struggle does count very heavily, but they're not in favor of. They're not for writing off minority groups and minority rights like people claim.
Right, just because they're rich. Like, come on now. Come on now.
Yeah. Sorry for being long-winded.
No, it's good. It's good. I've never heard of it before, so that's interesting.
I found out was an older phrase. A friend of mine told me it was an older phrase going back to the 1930s. I did not know the phrase was that old. I thought it was something that was kind of new within the past decade. But anyway, I guess we probably should go on with maybe the next story. Yeah, because let me just go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and go on with this next story here. All right.
What's up, Warren and Anthony in the comment section?
Oh, hello, everyone. Yeah, see. This is from the Gray Zone, and it's talking about Ukrainian refugees in the UK, and Ukrainian, not everybody in the Ukraine, but a certain amount of Ukrainians trying to adjust to a very diverse society. So Max Blumenthal and Aaron Matei discussed that. So I'll go ahead and get that set up over here. And let's see, do we have it set up? We do. Great. So let me get the screen ready, and we'll get everything underway.
One of the AOC's constituents actually managed to get a response from her about why she voted for the $40 billion in aid, which was the really important aid package that provided at least a year's worth of war. And she said because it contained billions of dollars for assisting Ukrainian refugees in Western Europe and other places, and that she supports refugees. So that was her kind of whitewashing or refugee washing of this disgusting war. And there's a Channel 4 special, Channel 4 in the UK special, on how some of those Ukrainian refugees are doing in the UK. And I wanted to play this video because it would be funny if it wasn't so sad. This is what AOC is sort of sponsoring.
I think we hadn't necessarily taken into consideration the cultural differences.
But those cultural...
So just to brief you, and if you're just listening on audio only, there's a Channel 4 reporter in the home of a liberal woman who has taken in refugees in Birmingham, UK, and she's complaining about cultural differences. Let's hear what they are.
Differences weren't often talked about when Andrea signed up to the Homes for Ukraine scheme. She lives in a diverse part of Birmingham. After a week of staying there, her guest told her there were too many Muslims in the area.
We were quite shocked at how difficult she found different cultures. She felt there were just too many Muslims. Too many Muslims, too many people with different skin colors.
Her guest's son was enrolled into the local school, where the majority of children happened to be Black and Asian.
And then to just have her complain about the demographic of the school and going, well, he can't be safe there. There's not enough.
There's too many Black people there. There's too many Asian people. They don't like them.
White kids, essentially.
They both agreed to end the placement.
I realise there's lots of people that look like me here. And that can be quite like, wow, you know, I thought England was full of English people. And it is, because I'm English, but I just look very different. I'm a 6 foot tall Black woman. So yeah, I'm sure when they came in, I could see people really clutching their handbags. But by the time we kind of
really clutching their Azov patches,
got into it, you know, people had warmed up, there was lots more smiles, they were talking to each other. So I feel like we got it just about right.
From the best area of Kyiv, where I became to the worst area of the Birmingham, unfortunately.
Oksana moved here from Kyiv last summer, living...
So this is a Ukrainian refugee named Oksana who said she's from the best part of Kyiv and now has moved to what she calls the worst part of Birmingham, and we'll hear why it's the worst.
Side by side with so many different cultures made her feel afraid.
I was very afraid because it was not usually for me, and and some people just told me about so many dangerous stories.
Lots of people here would feel very offended that you feel just because it's a mixed area, it's not safe.
I saw statistics on the police website, police, and so I saw statistics of criminals instead of people. And also, I read in the internet in English when I began that this is the area from terrorism.
Oksana has now.
This is an area of terrorism, so meaning there are Muslims there. So yeah, the word racism is never mentioned in that report, but we constantly heard, including from Channel 4, that there are no ultranationalist elements in Ukraine. Azov and the Social National Party are not popular, but you can see why those kind of politics have festered in Ukraine, and now they're coming to the UK and coming to Western Europe. And this woman actually voluntarily left her home and left the community that was there to support her in solidarity because there were too many blacks and Muslims there.
And going back quickly to what AOC said and justifying her vote for funding the proxy war and saying that, well, she supports the money for refugees. Well, if you want to support refugees, another option is to not support policies that create refugees. And instead of funding a proxy war that will guarantee more refugees, you could call for diplomacy with Russia immediately on all the issues that need to be addressed. The expansion of NATO, the placement of U.S. weapons surrounding Russia, the Minsk peace process, which has been sabotaged inside Ukraine, which is supposed to end the civil war that began after the 2014 coup. And recently we've had NATO leaders like Angela Merkel admit that Minsk was not meant to make peace in Ukraine, it was meant to buy time for Ukraine to fight Russia. So rather than going along with that, you can actually say, let's have serious diplomacy instead of funding all these proxy war bills that give a token amount of money to refugees. And remember what happened when progressives tried to do that for 24 hours. They put out a letter calling for diplomacy with Russia, and that got retracted under pressure from the usual devoted proxy warriors in Congress and the media. 24 hours, and that was it. So that's an alternative option if you want to support refugees, is to stop supporting policies that create them.
Well, the whole point of that refugee money that AOC was voting for, aside from refugee washing her vote, is to provide a ventilation mechanism for the war machine, for the war state. Because they know they're going to create refugees when they come in and start escalating, bringing in the HIMARS, bringing in the tanks, extending the conflict, avoiding negotiation. And so that's the role of the progressive squad, is to actually create a ventilation mechanism so that the war can go on. And of course, they put it all on the lap of Western Europeans. The U.S. isn't going to accept many Ukrainian refugees. And in new polls, Democrats are showing that they are not as supportive as they were 6 months ago of taking in large numbers of Ukrainian refugees, 10% less than the last poll. So deeply depressing, and I think we'll see more and more of this going into 2023, because as someone, we just had a question from a commenter about whether we see negotiations on the horizon. No, I don't. I think that the State Department wrote up a phony peace proposal for Zelensky to put forward so they can continue making war, because the proposal is something that would never be acceptable to the other side.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Well, you can just send those Ukrainians to the Bible Belt of America. I'm pretty sure they fit in right well with them. No problem whatsoever. I'm just kidding. Not really. But yeah, no, you put cultures together. What do you have a community and groups of people who have decided in history to settle and make huge pockets of themselves all over the world, to where they don't have to feel any kind of different cultures or know what other cultures are like. And so, they invite them to their own home and get a slap of reality of what different cultures are. That's why there's such words as culture shock. People go into other places and are completely shocked at how other places are. That's why people need to travel more and see other places more, instead of thinking that your country is the greatest there ever was. And, I don't need to go travel other places because I've seen it all.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I was told, I was asked when I went to England, before I went to England, a young girl asked me, a young girl asked me one time, are there any black people in England? I'm like, England's probably one of the most diverse societies in Europe. Probably as diverse as the United States. Probably about, and when I was there, I was like, it was about the same level of diversity. So, just the people talking about the culture shock and everything. I mean, the world's becoming more diverse, societies are becoming more diverse, and Ukrainians are getting a culture shock, and they'll just have to get over it. And the generosity of people in England, and this is how they repaid them. Like, oh, like, we can't hang out in this area because of the it's so culturally mixed. There's a little bit of a bigotry problem in that part of Europe, because I mean, it is a fairly homogeneous society over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that. My internet went out for a second.
Yeah, I was noticing there was a little bit of I don't know how much I was able to say what I needed to say, but nutshell, somebody asked me about the diversity, demographics of England, and I said just as diverse as the United States.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go on with the next story here, and yes, this is funny. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Although I can't stand her, she does provide a laugh. So let's see here. So we'll talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene for a moment. All right. Okay, and let me get the screen ready here.
I just spoke with our great.
Here we go.
So with this Chinese spy balloon that was floating across the country and then got shot down by Biden, a lot of Republicans, during the time it was floating in the middle of the country, were like, bro, shoot it down, bro. They were the ones who sort of led the charge on it. Fox News was leading the charge on it. Trump was over on Truth Social saying, shoot the balloon down. And Marjorie Taylor Greene came out, and she said that Trump definitely would have shot down this spy balloon before it ever reached the U.S. And in fact, I have the tweet here. I just spoke with our great America First President Trump. He would have never allowed China to fly a spy balloon over our country and our military bases and assets. President Trump would have shot it down before it entered the U.S., and so would I. So strong, so strong. Well, as they go on to explain in this article, immediately after Marjorie Taylor Greene says this, Forbes reports that, according to the Pentagon, they come out and say, yeah, while Trump was president, there were 3 different instances of Chinese fly balloons floating across the U.S. and did nothing. Oops. Now, look. I'm actually going to defend Trump on this. If I'm president and somebody comes to me and says there's a Chinese balloon flying over our country, I have a lot of questions. It's not just like hostile enemy attack. This is a code red, scramble the fighter jets. No, you're going to go, okay, what exactly is going on? Give me all of the information that you know. Are we sure it's a spy balloon? Why would they do something so goofy and so out in the open when they have advanced satellites and they can spy on us that way, and they've been spying on us that way? What exactly is the short-term danger? You go through a whole list of stuff. And if they don't have good answers for me, I am going to default to don't do anything. Don't do anything. Let's try to get more information. Let's try to counter-spy on them to figure out exactly what's going on, what that balloon does, etc. Because this is what you do if you're an intelligent human being. It's like, I need more information to make an informed decision. It's not just like, balloon, give me gun, shoot, launch missiles, fire. That's not like that's a dumb response. That's what a dumb person does. And Biden, of course, got baited by the dumb people on Fox News and all the Republican politicians. So Trump, in my opinion, did the right thing. But then, of course, he goes out there and tries to virtue signal when a spy balloon is floating under Biden. I would shoot the thing down right away because I'm so tough, bro. I'm so tough, bro. It's like, you didn't do that, and you were right when you didn't do that, but now you're virtue signaling like, I would definitely do the wrong thing this time. That's what I would do, the wrong thing. And I just love, they have this hilarious view of Trump. Like, in their mind, they just project ideal Republican president onto him. And of course, what they think is ideal is usually just idiotic. But he would have always done the right thing in every situation. The right thing as I define it. And we would be safe forever and ever. And we'd be prosperous forever and ever. And there would be nothing bad that happens, like, for example, pandemic, taking over the entire country and destroying our economy and killing over 1 million people. What? So I love there's nothing better than, like, the instant debunking. The instant, like, say a thing, dead wrong. And with somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, man, you're going to get that a lot. She offers that to us a lot. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics over.
I'm going to do you a favor and not let you be exposed to that part where he says, hey, you want to.
You want to.
Yeah. It is a little creepy when he says that. What's your take on that?
I'm so over this balloon. I was more paying attention to the fact that he plugs his headphones into his microphone. Like, how do you hear things through your headphones, like when you're listening to videos on YouTube or something, when your headphones are plugged into your microphone? That's what I was wondering more than this stupid balloon thing. I'm so over this balloon thing. So over it.
Yeah, and I've seen too many Republican talking heads in the media talking about how they would have, like he said, talking about how they would have just blown that balloon to bits and everything, and just like they don't realize that this could cause an international incident, and I really, honest to God, do not think that there was anything to the damn balloon. I don't think there was anything to the balloon at all. Nothing.
Right. Well, no different than what a satellite could already do. See, like when he said that in his statement and then kept going, I was waiting for him to explain to me what's better of an explanation than what's better than how could it be any better than what a satellite's already doing? And he didn't say anything in there that helped with that answer. So to me, still, that's where I'm stuck at. Like, why are we so up in a hoopla about these balloons right now when the satellites can do way more than that and have been doing that? And for one, we've been using balloons. America has. Other countries have been using balloons since a long time. And they were even America was using balloons on our own people to I think it was like to check traffic and stuff with cars. So the balloons have been around. I don't understand. Like, we never hear about the balloons. It's always not been around. We don't really hear about it. And then all of a sudden, like 5 of them in 1 week. It just, I don't know. It seems like a freaking distraction.
I mean, it's actually, to me, it's less serious than the 1960 U-2 crisis that happened over the Soviet Union. The U-2 plane that America flew over the Soviets, I guess, went down, and I guess they captured the pilot, and he was held prisoner. I think that's what happened. And to me, I think that this incident with the balloons was less serious than the U-2 crisis of 1960.
Yeah. See, like what Anthony's saying in the comments, that's the word I've been looking for. They're trying to sable rattle for war now. Like, that's the word I've been trying to think of all fucking week for this. They're trying to sable rattle for war in China, because I think the new recent polls are saying that, like, Americans are like 50-50 with the Ukraine war right now. So already it's only been a year, and already over half of the country is like over and done with the Ukraine war. And I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, not sorry, but that's the only way that capitalism can really run is through wars. And so we need to keep them going. And the next one, it seems like it's going to be with China. And I saw it on the news today. They were saying something about China wants to start a war, but it's going to be out in the upper atmosphere area. That's where this war is going to be, which I think it's going to be economic war.
I think it's going to be economic with China. China's very clever at how they want to do this sort of thing. They're going to do it. They're not going to do it militarily. They're going to do it through economics.
Right. Yeah. Because they're tired of the sanctions and the tariffs that America's been putting on everyone, and even them. Like, we've been running around as bullies, but we don't produce shit. We've literally outran and outproduced. China's outproduced us. We give all of our labor to China. That is literally what can make an economy fall. Like, you can't make a dollar valuable without the work to back it up with, or else it's going to be a valueless dollar. And that's pretty much what we're doing and what we're starting to do. Now we don't even get any dollars, and we're still expected to be a consumer economy. But China's taken up all the work in producing things and creating things. Even Biden said in his speech that we're going to start making microchips. Like, bro, China's already been doing it. Like, we're just trying to make China look bad because they've been producing, because we've been giving it to them. And I'm sorry, but if you ask CEOs of companies, they're not going to give up their cheap labor in China to come move it out over here for our, whatever, $9.25 an hour, which they might. I've been saying this before. They might come back here because that's probably why they haven't bumped it up to $15 an hour yet.
Well, I mean, they might have to, considering with the supply chain crisis, it's going to be the only way our economy is going to kind of get back on track. And until then, we're going to still have our economy is not going to be back to any semblance of normality. And so, since we gave up any semblance of protectionism, I mean, it was not a mistake for Nixon to befriend China. That was never a mistake, but it was a mistake to trade with China. Nothing against China, but it was a mistake to trade with China to the level where the United States corporations, with its greed, threw American workers under the bus. And, nothing against China saying that. I'm just saying, but we threw our workers under the bus because of the cheaper labor.
Right, but that's not a problem with trading with China. That's a problem with the corporate greedy CEOs that want to get cheap labor so they can make more of a profit. That's our problem with greed.
Well, that's basically, that's what I'm saying. The capitalists here, the crony capitalists here, they just decided to go ahead and take advantage of this situation, and that's why we're in the fix we're in. So, all right, we'll get to the next story here. Let's see. Let me find that. Let's see. Where is that story? Let's see. I saw that the other day. Yes, right there. Roger Walters, very controversial person these days. Let's see. Right there. Is that it? Or is that it? That's it. There we go. Yeah, Roger Walters being very controversial these days. From Pink Floyd, and so controversial that you'll hear it from the Jimmy Dore show. So let me get everything set up here for Jimmy Dore. All right, hold on a second here. All right, my computer's getting a little slow right now for some reason. All right, give me a moment here. We'll get everything set. Come on. All right. I don't know why my computer's doing this. It's been kind of sluggish. It's been sluggish in the last 2 days.
Yeah, same with mine.
Whenever you go against the establishment narrative, they call you a anti-vaxxer or a racist. That's the thing. Or they call you a phobe of some kind. You're a phobe. So you can't go against the establishment narrative. Remember when Eric Clapton, he went and got the vaccine. He got injured. He told people about it. They immediately called him a racist. And that's because Pharma funds Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone is the biggest garbage magazine.
Always like this?
Yes.
That's what it says on it. That's great.
Eric Clapton went from setting the standard for rock guitar to making full-tilt racist rants to becoming an outspoken vaccine skeptic. Did he change, or was he always like this?
Wow, that is such a
You mean was he always vaccine injured?
So they're literally.
Was he always vaccine injured?
Like, never mind that. I heard he was a racist.
What?
It's an easy jump. It's called a two-hop.
Yeah, it's called a two-hop. So now here he is explaining. So here's Roger. Now it's happening to Roger Waters. Now he's the famous Pink Floyd band member, and he's outspoken on Julian Assange and the Ukraine war. And here's his position. And
Is this the freedom that comes?
because it's happening to him now, and that's why I'm going to show you what they're doing to him. But I first want to show you his position.
Was with being
I've only got one message.
What's his
Two
message?
strangers passing in the street, by chance two passing glances meet, and I am you, and what I see is me. That is my message. And that was on Medal, which was in 1970. And basically, my message hasn't changed. I recognize your humanity, but I recognize all the Russians and the Chinese and the Ukrainians and the Yemenis and the Palestinians and the Germans and the French and the Spanish and the Ecuadorians and the Peruvians and the Colombians. Well done, by the way, Colombia. You've finally got a president who isn't in the pocket of United States of America businessmen, and maybe your people will start getting a fair shake. I love that. I think it's great. The inauguration, by the way, is on the 7th, which is in 2 days' time.
I thought the message was with, without, and who'll deny that's what the fighting's all about.
Well, that is part of the message, yeah, and thank you for remembering that lyric. And I still emphasize it in the middle of the song Us and Them. I always stop playing the bass at that point and gesticulate it, because it's something that I think we need to, I want to spread that message. That is what the fighting is all about. You know, we always come back, or I always come back to this tiny, tiny platform, except it isn't, which is Paris 1948 and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Either you subscribed to the 30 articles of that declaration, or you don't. You cannot cherry pick. You can't have it. You can't have it your own way. You have to say either this is about all of us, all our brothers and sisters, irrespective of ethnicity or religion or nationality, or it isn't. But you can't cherry pick. You can't say, well, we deserve human rights, but they don't. That is called being supremacist. And there's religious supremacy and you know, skin color based supremacy and political supremacy and this. Well, so that's a very important document.
So for saying things like that, which sounds wonderful, he's embracing human rights declaration. He gets this. Sadly, Roger Waters, you are an anti-Semitic to your rotten core. Also a Putin apologist and a lying, thieving, hypocritical, tax-avoiding, lip-syncing, misogynistic, sick with envy, megalomaniac. Enough of your nonsense.
Who's Polly Sampson?
So I don't know who she is, but
That's what I want to
wouldn't
know.
be-
Who's
well,
Polly
who she is?
Sampson?
Well, in 2010,
Polly
Polly Sampson told The Guardian, I just look at Julian Assange and what he's doing, and I'd love to be doing something like that. Today, she's spouting neocon bot.
I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, I didn't know who she is either.
Yeah, Polly Sampson told the guard. Yeah, I actually don't know.
Me neither.
Against one of Assange's top defenders because her washed-up husband was too cowardly to do it.
Wait, she loved to be slowly being tortured to death by the United States?
Well, that's in 2010. So what makes this tragic is this is another band member of his, David Gilmour, right, from the Pink Floyd.
Wait, is that the one that
he
lost his...
I don't know who he is. And he retweeted this and said every word demonstrably true. Wow. And he's got a Ukraine flag in his. Do you see that? You got the Ukraine flag?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine being a rocker and being a repeater of CIA and military industrial complex talking points so people get slaughtered? And that's what he's doing. So that's the thanks that Roger Waters got. Just like Eric Clapton, by telling people he went and got vaccinated and he got vaccine injured, people then called him a racist. Now people are doing this, even his closest friends. And as much as this had to hurt Roger Waters, maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's why the band broke up in the first place, because he knew this guy was a big piece of it.
Well, I like you're anti-Semitic to your rotten core, and then the guy who, let's send Nazis more guns.
They're literally sending Nazis guns in Ukraine.
Jeez.
So what's demonstrable here is your bitter jealousy of Roger's packed arena tours and political courage. That's what Aaron Mate, the buzzsaw, the hammer, said to David Gilmour.
Polly Sampson is David Gilmour's wife.
Oh. Okay, so this is another, what's his name is taking his music off Spotify.
Yeah.
Because Dylan told him to.
So I like this guy. He says, I like Roger Waters and I like David Gilmour, but Roger Waters is the profile in courage, no question. And there's his concerts. Wow. Wow, are you going to turn this into a commercial for Amazon Music? Like Neil Young did when he falsely accused Joe Rogan of spreading misinformation. Joe Rogan wasn't spreading misinformation, by the way. Joe Rogan was right.
echoing.
The
Is there
people
a way you
lying
can
were
fix the
CNN,
echo?
MSNBC, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Fauci,
hold on.
Collins, the head of the CDC. Those were the people that were lying.
Do we have an echo?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't hear an echo on my end. Usually it'll come from my end. Oh, did that disappear? Oh, good Lord, it disappeared. Well, anyway, we'll
Maybe
probably go on.
backtrack it, like go back one. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do. Let me see. Yeah, I can do this. Hold on a second. We'll get it fixed.
We're gonna
I
get
know how to. I got it.
nerdy
I
in the
got it.
last
I got it.
video.
Yeah, I got it. I can get it fixed. There we go. We'll get it fixed. All I have to do is this.
Not have headphones in, maybe, because that's what was happening to me for a while. I was getting an echo because I didn't have headphones.
Oh no, I think I know what it is. I probably forgot to. There's a part where I can avoid the echo sound, and yeah, that's what happened to me. So hold on a second here. We're going to. Okay, I goofed up.
No, you're good. You're good.
Hold on a second.
Also,
oh my goodness.
Young is just the Ukraine puppet of this situation, and Daryl Hannah is probably the more NATO instigator.
Okay, my computer's.
I guess we know why.
Okay, my computer's doing exactly every time I type something, it does the opposite of what I want to do right at the moment. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let me get everything set up here. All right. This time it shouldn't be a problem because it says share and tab audio. And if I don't, that's usually where the echo takes place. Okay. There should not be an echo now.
Okay.
Pink Floyd broke up. One front man is an establishment pro-war stooge, and the other is an anti-war truth teller.
I'm going to look into it. I'm curious with David Gilmour.
Is that okay?
David Gilmour is clearly the silver spoon of the band, while Roger Waters is the working class bloke. One defends white supremacist, capitalist, fascist propaganda, while the other speaks out constantly about it. Go figure.
I'll tell you, this is why they get a young wife that they're into, and they become like, what's happening to Ben?
So here, I just so the people watching this video know, this is what happened to Ukraine. NATO and the United States are using their people as cannon fodder so we could do an economic war against Russia to make sure Russia and China don't come together. I mean, to make sure Russia and Germany doesn't come together in an economic alliance. That's what we feared for decades, and that's why we blew up their pipeline. And this has been predicted. This is 2015 he said this.
But I actually think that what's going on here is that the West is leading Ukraine down the primrose path. And the end result is that Ukraine is going to get wrecked. And I believe that the policy that I'm advocating, which is neutralizing Ukraine and then building it up economically and getting it out of the competition between Russia on one side and NATO on the other side, is the best thing that could happen to the Ukrainians. What we're doing is encouraging the Ukrainians to play tough with the Russians. We're encouraging Ukrainians to think that they will ultimately become part of the West because we will ultimately defeat Putin and we will ultimately get our way. Time is on our side. And of course, the Ukrainians are playing along with this. And the Ukrainians are almost completely unwilling to compromise with the Russians and instead want to pursue a hardline policy. As I said to you before, if they do that, the end result is that their country is going to be wrecked. What we're doing is, in effect, encouraging that outcome. I think it would make much more sense for us to work to create a neutral Ukraine. It would be in our interest to bury this crisis as quickly as possible. It certainly would be in Russia's interest to do so. And most importantly, it would be in Ukraine's interest to put an end to the crisis. Thank you.
Condemnations of Putin without acknowledging that the conflict started in 2014, meaning in Ukraine, started in 2014, are meaningless. So condemnations of Putin without acknowledging that the Ukraine conflict started in 2014 are meaningless. The United States backed the Maidan coup. in 2014 and fueled the ensuing Donbass war, where 14,000 have died, with U.S. weapons. Russia's invasion is a new phase, illegal, but it's not out of the blue. So that's the thing nobody will tell you with a Ukraine flag in their bio or in their profile pic. They won't ever tell you that this all started in 2014 when the right wing and the CIA in Ukraine overthrew the democratically elected president, and then the people in the eastern parts of Ukraine didn't want to go along with that coup government, and so the coup government started bombing them, and they did it for 8 years straight, and that's why Russia invaded Ukraine, was to protect those people and stop that and keep Ukraine from becoming part of NATO. So we've explained this a million times in other videos. But of course, the United States and NATO are provoking this. They set this up. They actually wanted this to happen. And this is a war the United States wanted by choice. And we got it. So,
well, this isn't going to be like Afghanistan. That's the point. The people think, oh, draw them into an Afghanistan. Like Afghanistan wasn't existential for us. That was the thing. We could just leave all our stuff.
That's right. That's right. So this is, again, it's much worse than you think, but that's exactly what they do to you. As soon as you tell the truth about war, they call you a racist now, and they did it to him. Poor Roger Waters. Okay, over to Steph.
That's Eric Clapton.
I mean, yeah, but that's the.
Hello.
But if you go against the establishment, they call you a racist. So that was Eric Clapton.
It looks like a campaign ad.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, we're doing live stand-up comedy. We're going to Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Nashville, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, New York, Co-host New York, Hartford, Connecticut, and Washington, D.C. Go to Jimmy.
Okay. I was just checking if he's going to come to North Carolina soon because, I saw him in North Carolina last year. But anyway, what's your take on that?
I think he's correct. I mean, this is exactly what America does, and we're seeing, liberals and some Republicans going for it. This coup and, giving them, knowing full well that Ukraine is going to lose this. They're going to be completely demolished. I mean, I just covered this on my show a couple of weeks ago that Larry Fink from BlackRock is already trying to invest in talking with Zelensky to invest in Ukraine. So, it's exactly what they've been wanting to do. We're going to play the long game, as long as we don't get the nuclear war going on, and we're going to end up winning, and we're going to get our way. The Nord Stream pipeline, it's all in front of people's faces, but then nobody wants to say anything, or nobody wants to, at least look at it on the left side. They just want to say, oh, Ukraine bad. That sucks.
Yeah, the thing about it is that seems like every modern day war, that has started, especially after World War II, American involvement has been based on a lie. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, for example, in Vietnam, that sparked America's entry into the Vietnam War, was based on a lie. Some of the so-called human rights abuse by the Sandinistas in Nicaragua were also based on a lie in Nicaragua during the 1980s. Things like the weapons of mass destruction that were not there in Iraq sparked the Iraq war, and I'm like, we have been lied to so many times. It's like time and time again, so many Americans are just sitting there waiting to hear the State Department line and the Washington consensus line and saying, well, it's, you could just take that to the bank. And it seems like they do it every time. And those who question this kind of bullshit, you're made fun of, and you're considered, oh, why are you supporting the other side, and all that. And then 2 or 3 years later, they'll be like, hey, you were right about this. You were right about this all along. And I'm like, if people who listen to me, things will be a little bit better. But they'll listen to all of us. Things will be a little bit better. We turn out to be correct on a lot of things. All of us on I would say the authentic left anyway. Right. And poor Roger Waters getting smeared the way he's been getting too. I mean, I've always liked Pink Floyd, and I just managed to like Pink Floyd a little bit more because of what Roger Waters is going through.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I want to share this story, and this is hilarious. Donald Trump, with all his faults, even when Donald Trump makes me mad, he manages to also make me laugh. But on this one, not only is he making me laugh, I'm not so sure he's a bad guy on this particular instance, and it's because the person he's angry at the moment or is Ron DeSantis. So I'm gonna go ahead and play you this video from Mark of the Beast. This guy's hilarious. His take is hilarious. Let me go ahead and play that video as soon as it's set up. There we go.
Donald Trump is accusing him of being a groomer.
Love it.
God, this story.
Yes.
What do you mean, yes? Why weren't you doing that? You know, this Trump accusing DeSantis of grooming illustrates what utterly pathetic losers, not only Democrats, but progressives are. Why did we have to wait for Trump to do this?
But he was a teacher, and aren't they all? What was he doing with those underage girls? Teaching them?
What are you, a moron? First of all, he was drinking with underage. What do you think they were doing? Playing Trivial Pursuit? You think they were playing Sudoku? For the life of me, I cannot understand that game. Sudoku. It makes no sense to me. But that's number one. Number two, it doesn't matter, idiot. You attack. It doesn't matter. You attack. You useless piece of garbage. This guy goes crazy over Joe Manchin having coal stock. Oh, he's got stock, whatever. But he wants to use kid gloves on DeSantis.
The claims aren't 100%. Look, do I think he's a groomer based on what they've presented? No. There's no evidence that Ron DeSantis is a groomer.
Yeah, she needs evidence. She's a lawyer all of a sudden. Anna Kasparian goes wild over Pete Buttigieg's donation from a corporate. She'll go wild over that. Kamala Harris, one time in 19 whatever, she goes wild. But with Ron DeSantis, suddenly she's Perry Mason. She's a lawyer. All of a sudden she needs evidence. She'll go, oh, wait a minute, where's the evidence? Blah, blah. I hate all these people, including how the F is Joe Biden not attacking DeSantis on this? How the F is Biden not attacking Matt Gaetz on this? I know Biden's got his own problems. So does Trump. That didn't stop Trump. Trump is accused of rape. Trump is accused of all kinds of... That didn't stop Trump. Why is it stopping Biden? Why is it stopping all these guys? DeSantis and Matt Gaetz have been criminalizing their opponents and dehumanizing minorities. All the while, progressives, Sam Cedar and Emma Vaginaland, I don't know how many videos they've done on Kathy Hochul. Kathy Hochul? Who the hell is Kathy Hochul? Answer. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. She's the Democratic governor of New York. Not even New Yorkers know that. Not even New Yorkers know that because nobody cares about Kathy Hochul. Kathy Hochul is completely irrelevant to people's lives compared to the damage being caused by Republicans. And yet, that's their target, Kathy Hochul. Huh? How much has Sam Cedar and Vaginalands focused on Kathy Hochul? Or any of the other mundane crap they've been covering? How has that stopped DeSantis? How has that helped LGBTQ individuals that they claim to care so much about? What about Kyle Kulinski? I don't know. Kyle Kulinski. You need to floss, crystals, whatever, out of your teeth. Clean yourself up and do something, idiot. I don't know what you're talking about all day. Some nonsense. The progressive movement, it's utterly useless, as illustrated by Trump. And as DeSantis himself has illustrated, DeSantis and Republicans have been doing to Democrats, have been labeling Democrats the way Democrats should have been labeling Republicans.
Chickens come home to roost. They do. Sometimes they come home to roost, which is why it's really, really important to not normalize a political environment where you start accusing people of being groomers.
Normalize. That's already happened, dummy. Tapioca for brains. That's already happened. what Tapioca for Brains, Anna Kasparian, is advocating. She's like, let's not normalize. She's like, hey, let's not normalize tanks after tanks were invented. Hey, idiot, the Germans just busted through the Maginot Line with their tanks, but she doesn't want to normalize tanks. It's already happened. Oh my God, I can't take these idiots. They're all idiots, up and down. I almost now understand. I almost empathize now with Jimmy Dore and Brianna Joy Gray and the news gray zone guys. I'm almost beginning to empathize with them, because when everyone on your side is such a pathetic loser, what's the point? Why not sell out? Why not grift? Why not? What difference does it make? What difference does it make?
That is actually the first time I've seen Mark of the Beast do a video where he's not simping over the Korean girl group. He always plays a portion of the video where he's always simping over one of the Korean girls from the, what do they call it, the K-pop phenomenon.
Yeah, you're talking about the band Blackpink.
Apparently that's a big trend right now. But he's really funny at his observations and everything, and it's funny that Donald Trump decided to go after Ron DeSantis with the grooming thing, because that's just the search for Ron DeSantis, who's been on a rampage to try to demonize the LGBTQ community in Florida with that stupid "Don't Say Gay" bill that's put into law down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so when seeing the kind of seeing the kind of people who have abandoned Trump and jumping on the bandwagon of Ron DeSantis tells me how much more dangerous he is than Donald Trump. I mean, when you have not Matt Gaetz, what's his name? Matt Walsh, that's his name. Matt Walsh is jumping on board, two fascists flocks together. What's the analogy? Anyway, any thoughts?
To me, Trump calling him a groomer and all this other stuff like that, rapist and stuff. It's just the pot calling the kettle black to me. So it's nothing big, I do see, I guess, quote unquote, DeSantis is dangerous, but it's the Republican Party. It's to be expected. They're like the bad kids. So
yeah, and I just will the pearl clutching evangelicals look at that with Ron DeSantis and realize there's something wrong with this guy,
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like, we haven't had that stuff in the Republican Party before. Trump was kind of like, to them, it was a fresher breath air. To us, it was like something completely different outside of normal Republican Party. It seemed more like a libertarian vote or an independent vote that Trump won in the Republican Party. Because before then, you've had the Bushes, So if you get DeSantis now, it's just like going back to having the Bushes again. So it's not a big difference. It's just going back to the way it was.
Oh, I've always said that DeSantis was. They have compared DeSantis to Trump. I say he's closer to Bush Cheney than he is Trump. I mean, he's his demeanor. He's trying to look and act like Trump, but on policy and the way he goes about things, he's more like to me he's more like George W. Bush. If he's like Trump, he's basically like a competent Trump without the comedy show. That makes him more dangerous. Or he's basically a very intelligent George W. Bush, which that's a very low bar because George W. Bush was a dumbass. So, So
it's just all status quo politics. I mean, Democrats are all the same and Republicans are all the same, and they're all, it's either, you know, since at least since I've been born, the people that have been running presidency, like been president, are either nepo babies or like friendly nepos. You know, they're like friend nepos. Like instead of, you know, birthing someone that gets that part that you got, it's like your friend gets it. So it's all just been kind of, you know, ever turning door for, or revolving door for friends and politics for the last 37 years. So
yeah, I'll be 54 in a few weeks, and I'll tell you one thing: I'm yet to see a president that's stepped into that Oval Office that I could be proud of. None of them.
Right.
None of them. What I am going to do, because I do have to go to work in a little while, I will stay here till 10 o'clock tonight, and I would love to, but I'm probably going to quickly sign off tonight. But I will say hello quickly to everybody on the chat line, but I won't get to everybody on the chat line because I'm kind of, budgeting for time. So let's see. Warren, how are you? And Anthony, how are you? And let's see. I'm going to try to at least get to everybody here. All right. And okay. And Snipe Hunter, how are you? And I would normally talk to everybody, but and Hot Retarded Chicks, how are you? So as I said, I usually try to talk to everybody, but I'm budgeting for time tonight. So everyone, if and I do need to talk to you for a quick moment when I sign off, Jimmy. So everyone, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment any way you disagree with what I have to say, and feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we're the muckrakers of our time, reject corporate media, and always get a second opinion. And until next time, we will talk to you all later. And me and Jimmy, I guess we'll be back here next month, co-hosting once again.
Yep.
All right. Take care, everyone.